Evening and welcome to the Sunday morning rant in the evening. Now, this morning when I got out of bed, I had no topics written in my little book to actually talk to you about. So therefore I didn't do this morning. I should have done, but I didn't. And it's only during the day I sort of formulated a couple of ideas of things to actually sort of talk about this evening. And then I sort of thought, well, you know, I will sit down and do this. So I have a couple of things to say. Now, first things first. Last week I did this video sitting in front of my studio racks. And my studio racks were slowly being populated with the modules that had been taken out of them while I was moving the studio around. And I can now turn around and say that each one of those racks now is now full of modules. Now, as I was putting the modules in, the new stuff that has recently been bought that I haven't really taken much attention of, to be honest, in terms of maintenance, I actually opened it all up. And I did a video of the A-110 and the A-220 being opened up early in the week, and I put them on the channel. So if you're interested inside and seeing what's inside them, you know, go and find the videos and have a watch. I warn you now, I'm no Mark Fuller, okay, and those of you sort of on YouTube and see Mark Fuller, and he pulls things to pieces and he goes through and tells you what every chip means. I haven't got that knowledge, to be honest. I know what I know what I need to know, and if I have to repair something, I go and look it up, and then my knowledge expands. But actually having sort of that sort of knowledge straight off bat, that's Mark's thing, not mine. Anyway, they're on the channel. Go and have a look at them. So, what have I been doing this week? Well, this week has been an interesting week, and there is actually a good reason why I'm actually sitting here rather than sitting in the studio, which is what I said I was going to do last week, and sit in front of the racks and show you all the racks. And that's because I've been playing with my D-05 synthesizer, trying to sort of get some knowledge about how this thing works, and I'm still impressed with it. I have to be honest and say I'm still impressed with the way this thing works. One of the things I haven't done yet is I haven't got round to playing with the computer in the D-05, so there's still stuff to do there, but I've actually been playing with the unit itself. Now, the first thing you need to know when you're playing with the D-05 is obviously you're going to create patches and you're going to want to save those patches. Okay, D-05 allows you to do that, and I'm not going to do that in this video, but what I am going to do in this video is show you how to reset it. Okay, so to reset the D-05, what you do is you press down the patch button 2 and you switch it on, like so. And then it says factory reset, sure, yes or no, and you press enter to reset it back to factory. Now that you've reset it back to factory, now you know you can reset it back to factory. You can do whatever you like with it because you always know how to get it back to the factory state. There you go. It's now flashing, all the buttons are now, all the lights are now flashing to tell me that it's done its job, and you switch it off. Right, back to factory. The other thing I've done this week is I have acquired some stands for said unit because I didn't like it lying flat on here, and I sort of toyed with the idea of going and buying the keyboard for it, and I thought, no, I won't do that just yet. So these stands came from reverb.com. They weren't particularly expensive, they were about $12 or something like that. And you know, they've got a little lug here that actually fits into the sort of boutiques. There's one on either end. Now, what was really interesting was, as you can see, they do come off. So I'll put that one back on that side there, and put that back on that. And they just make the D-05 or the whatever boutique unit you've got, because apparently they fit all of them, just stand up off the surface, which is all well and good. So, next thing. So when you switch the D-05 on, like so, it obviously boots up. Always boots up to patch 1 banked. Sorry, I'm not quite sure how to do this. It sort of set 2 bank patch 1 bank 1, okay, rather than patch 1 bank patch set 1 patch 1 bank 1. I don't know why it always boots as 2, but it always does. Now if you touch this, it will play whatever tone you have loaded into memory. However, as soon as you touch the keyboard, like so, that function now ceases to work. So it's a one-time function, which is all well and good. Quite like that. Where we go. The obviously getting into the functions on here. One of the things I've been playing with is if you go into function, which is the function button, and then press F1, and then if you scroll through the options here, the third option through is LCD contrast, which allows you to up and down the level of the contrast on here. But there's something there called send mode, right? And this, when you get the unit, it's in original. Now I've been playing around with this, and what this function does is it allows you to, original is a very accurate modelling of the D50, and the second mode is clear, and that's a cleaner mode of the D50. So what they've done is they've looked at the D50 modelling and then they've cleaned the signal up. Now I have to be honest, that's in clean mode, and I'm not sure it's going to come out on the video. And then you've got I can hear a subtle difference between the two, but not enough to make me want to set it one way or the other. There's more warmth in the original, I think, and more clarity in the clean. But I had to have these things up really quite loud to try and disseminate between the two. It's something you might consider when you're playing with the D-05 to have a look at that. So I'm just going to push that back. And then there's a number of other options on there which I'm not going to go into on this video. I'm going to probably do a separate video on some of the other options here. As I said when I first got it out of the box, in order to change the tone, you first of all have to set your master bank, and you do that with the joystick actually to move that backwards and forwards between 1 and user 6, I think it is now. And then you've got the bank numbers that you can then pick your sounds from. And as I say, it always starts in master bank or master set 2, not 1. And all the original sounds are in 1. So what you need to do is you need to go into preset user, and then move that joystick all the way back so it says P1, and then when you're there, bank 1, patch 1, sorry, yeah, bank 1, patch 1, and that's Fantasia. And I have played with this with the D50 next door, and actually this is a cleaner sound. I have to be honest, it is a cleaner sound than the D50 next door. Now whether that's because my D50 next door is obviously 30 odd years old and this is 5 minutes old, don't know, but I suspect that's where it's coming from. The other thing I find really annoying about this is I'm now on my second set of batteries, okay, and I will bring this up to the camera so you can see this, and I ignore the MIDI cables because I'll tell you what they're about in a minute. I'm going to have to take that one off. Hang on a sec. Let me just unplug that one there. That's it. And I don't know whether you can see that. Right, that's battery low. And when it goes into this state here of battery low, it will still make a sound. Well, it will if I plug the MIDI cable back in, of course. Like so. But what you can't do is when it's in battery low mode, you can't change any of the settings. It then is stuck in the sound that it went into before it went battery low. I find that mildly annoying, I have to be honest. But it is my second set of batteries. And I know I said I wasn't going to play this on batteries, and I still don't intend to play on batteries, but I haven't got around to setting it up with the computer yet. Playing it with the USB power. So, in order to get it back from battery low mode, you switch it off, and you switch it back on again, like so. Yeah. Now, the other thing is I'm playing on an 88 key keyboard here. So, right down the bottom to right up the top. And most tones on here seem to be able to play all the way down to there, all right, which is quite good. Some of them, however, seem to cut off around about D sharp 4. Okay, so there. Okay, they won't play the E that's above it. But that's all right, because I mean, you know, it's way over there anyway, so what do you care? But all of them seem to have the low end though. All of them seem to be available down there, which I find really useful. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to say on this is I have tried today. I've been probably spending the last, I don't know, hour or so with this, trying to get my PG100 programmer working with it. And at the moment, I have to report I have failed miserably. So I know from some of the other videos online that this thing will take a D50 sysx dump. So you can take files that you have created on your D50, sysx them, dump into your computer, you can then dump them into this and it will play them. What it doesn't seem to be able to do is it doesn't seem to be able to take the control inputs from the PG1000, sorry. Is that a major thing? No. Would it be a really nice to have? Absolutely. So Roland, if you're looking at this and you're thinking about doing a firmware upgrade, support the legacy programmer, because that would make it so much easier to manipulate the sounds on the fly. But it doesn't work at the moment as far as I can see. Doesn't mean, or maybe it does work and I just haven't got round to being able to work out how to make it work. But hey ho. So there you go. That's my experience of the D50. So it's gone battery low again, so I can play it, but I can't actually mess around with it. So I'll just switch that off for the moment, and we'll move on. The other thing that arrived this week was a Korg P3. So this is sort of on M1 technology really, and I've got to be honest and say I haven't even plugged this in yet. Okay, it's arrived, it hasn't been cleaned, but I was asked if I'd give it a good home, and you know me with legacy equipment, yes, I'll always give stuff a good home if it's worthwhile. Now there were two of these, not the P3, but there were two really good desktop piano modules, and then there was the Roland MKS module, and I think it was an MKS 50, but I could be wrong on that. But there was an MKS module which was the Roland professional piano module. I have been looking for an MKS 50 for quite a while, but I haven't found one. And as I say, this came up and someone said, will I give it a good home? And the answer is yes, I will. So there you go, that's arrived. I will be playing with that at some point this week, and just see how I get on with that. This is purely a piano module, okay? It doesn't do anything else but piano. And it came with a card that says Symphonic Memory Card Rock Set. Isn't that a bit of an oxymoron? Symphonic Memory Card Rock Set. Hey ho. But we are where we are on that. So there you go. from going this morning from not having an awful lot to say to this evening being able to actually talk to the camera for the better part of 17 minutes, I've done quite well. The only other thing I will say is, having gone through, or having been working through the D50, and I'll just walk off camera. When are Roland going to learn that having something that big in front of you is not the easiest of things to read? Apart from the fact that, Roland, I don't speak Portuguese and Spanish and Greek and Japanese and every other language that you've included in the box, I just find that way too big to be able to be useful. Now, what would be really nice is, and I don't know whether they've done it, but I've managed to do it with the Aria, the other Aria equipment I've got, is to be able to actually take that down into A4 sheets, and I laminate those A4 sheets, and it becomes very much easier to read, you know, because you've got the sheet in front of you, rather than trying to sort of read. I mean, this is like trying to read the old FT on the train going into London in the mornings. You know, you end up sort of like poking everybody's eyes out when you turn the pages. It's, God, that's showing my age really, isn't it? Reading the FT on the train. Not that I ever read the FT on the train. I used to go on the train with people who used to read the FT. So, you know, Roland, you know, this is not a great idea. It's, you may be able to get everything in on that one sheet, but it's not a great idea, guys. You know, seriously, you know, those of us who, you know, I had to be honest, when I've been going through this today, I've actually had this on the floor, so that I could refer to it as I was playing around with the D50, but not really what I would call user friendly, that one. And then finally, these I did my normal cheeky bid on, and again they haven't been opened because they only arrived yesterday, are a couple of new voice CDs. So these are the Voice Crystal. This is a Voice Crystal one. Voice Crystal 1. I suspect this one will be VC2, if I remember correctly. Which were again on eBay over the last couple of weeks. Now, Voice Crystal 2. Now, what's really interesting was I was having a conversation with somebody the other day, and Voice Crystal was a partnership between two guys, and I can't remember who they are, but I know somebody who does know who they are. And they did a whole raft of programming for some of the legacy keyboards that we all know and love, like the probably not the DX7, but definitely the D50, definitely the D20, definitely the U series. They did stuff for the M1, they've done stuff for the T1 or the T series keyboards. Based out in California, again, but they generally tended to make some really, really good, solid sounds. So these will be going in the keyboard in the T1 later on, just so I can see and hear them and play them, which is what I did with all this sort of stuff. And I build up a bank of sounds of stuff that I really like, and then hopefully save them off to somewhere else. So they've come along. Anyway, that's me done for tonight. If you've got any questions, as always, drop me a line on the channel. I'm always pleased to hear from you. I'm always, if I can help and if I can respond, then I will give you my 2 pence worth of advice. Sometimes I can't help you. I mean, I've had one this week where really I couldn't help the person because it was just completely left field and beyond my experience range. But hopefully I did. A friend of mine gave me a pointer, so I sort of gave the person a pointer and said, you know, go and have a look at this, and that might actually give you the answer. But there we are. Until next week. Take care. Bye bye. If you like the contents of this video, please give it a thumbs up. Apparently it helps the channel and allows other people to find this video a lot quicker. I'm sure by now if you didn't like the contents of this video, you've already given me a thumbs down. If you want to be notified about future videos that are added to the channel, hit the subscribe button that should be appearing about here.